Hello, today we are going to talk about media, polling, and public opinion. The media includes radio, newspapers, television, websites, and any sort of social media, any other magazines, anything along those lines. Now, not all media is unbiased, which means that each individual person or company might have its own opinions, and sometimes they will share those opinions on media. Not all media contains facts either. What that means is that sometimes people will lie. People will say things that are not true and they will share that on social media. For example, sometimes if you see something on Twitter or Facebook, it might not be true. And so what you need to do is you need to always double check any sort of news that you see. Now, media also influences public opinion. Public opinion are people's ideas and views on political issues and other topics. For example, it could be, who do you think is a better person, Donald Trump or Paquita La del Barrio? Now, Donald Trump, most people would say, is a bad person, and that would be the public opinion. Most people think about something about a person or about an idea, and that's public opinion. What you're going to do now is you're going to look at the following pictures, and you're going to write observations about each one. Make sure you discuss what the artist wants you to think, and when you are done, please come and show me your thoughts. Now, these photos are called propaganda, which is media that tries to influence a person's belief intentionally. So if you look at the first one, we have a photo from World War II. Now, this photo right here has a year 1778 and 1943, and it says Americans will always fight for liberty. Now, what we need to do is we need to find out what the audience is supposed to think, or what the artist wants you to feel when you see this message. This was happening from World War II, and so we need to think about what was happening then and what the message is to you. Photo number 2, again, is from World War II. At the end of World War II, the United States dropped an atomic bomb twice on Japan. Now, what do you think this artist believes about atomic bombs, about peace, and about war? Look at the different parts. So we have the dove, which says peace on its wing, and we have an atomic bomb that says it next to this tag right here. Think about what they believe and think about what you need to do for that. Next, we have photo number 3, also from World War II, and it says, "United we are strong." And it has the second line that says, "United we will win." Think about what flags are represented on those cannons. Think about the message it's sending, what the tone is, and what it wants you to feel. Does it want you to feel strong? Does it want you to feel sad? What kind of message is this sending? And then think about who or whom this poster is supporting. Is it supporting the Axis or is it supporting the Allies? We need to think about that as well. Our next picture is a picture of 2 different people merged together. We have President Obama and El Che, and we want to think about what the artist or the person who created this picture wants you to think. Think about that. Make sure you come and see me after you have your thoughts. And our last picture, photo number 5, is another picture, but it's much more recent. We have a picture of the Statue of Liberty with a computer and a boat of refugees that says, "She's unfriending us." So what I want you to think about is what message this poster or comic is trying to send. Think about what the artist thinks about American immigration policy and how it treats refugees or other immigrants. Once you have finished doing all 5 of those pictures, come and see me, talk to me, and show me what you think about each 5 of those things. Also, media can report news with different tones. It can be the exact same story, but with a different tone. For example, if we look on the right, we have two articles that are the same story, but the headlines, the titles, are different. The first one says, Indonesian court sentences British woman to death for smuggling cocaine worth $2.5 million. There's not that much information in there that is opinion. It is all fact. It is very neutral language, so it's not positive or negative. If you look at the next one, we have British grandmother facing execution by firing squad in a jungle clearing. When you see this, you see British grandmother, and it makes you want to feel sympathy or feel sad because it's a grandmother. And then you see execution by firing squad, and that seems a little bit more strong or scary or mean than putting somebody to death. And in jungle clearing, jungles are seen as uncivilized or savage. And so you see the difference between these two articles or their headlines, even though it's the same story, can affect how people view things. The tone is much more negative in the second one. The tone in the first one is much more neutral. So whenever you see anything in the news, anything online, or hear anything from somebody else, make sure you double check or even triple check the facts that you see, just to make sure that they are true and are not made up. We also have what's called polling. Polling is when people ask survey questions to get information. So the polls show answers from a survey that have questions about a variety of topics. Polls always have four main features, basically. We have the population, which is which people are we trying to study. The sample, which is who we actually asked the question or questions. We have the sample size, which is how many people we asked. And the margin of error, which is how likely is this poll to be accurate or inaccurate, and how much can it be inaccurate. The benefits of polls is that it can help predict how people might vote. Political candidates can focus their resources based on information from the polls. For example, if the polls show that Hillary Clinton is tied with Donald Trump in North Carolina, Hillary Clinton might spend more money in North Carolina to try and push her support stronger, to make her support stronger with advertisements or by getting more volunteers. Also, polls allow people to make decisions without asking every single person. So, for example, if I asked 5 students from each class what they want to do after we finish the HSA, then I can make a decision based on what those people said instead of asking every single person in my class, all 200 of them. It'll be much faster, and I usually will be able to get a good idea of what people think. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes there are negative effects of polls. For example, people lie. People might lie because they're embarrassed or ashamed of what they think. For example, if somebody asked me if I like Donald Trump and I say yes because I know that person likes Donald Trump, I might not actually like Donald Trump, but I don't want to get in an argument or I don't want to talk with him about it. People are also stupid. Sometimes they don't know what the question is asking, or they don't know information about that topic. Sometimes questions can be misleading. For example, if I asked, are you in support of a strong border? People will probably say yes, because it has the word strong and things like that. I could also ask, do you want to prevent every single person from entering the United States? That's a much harsher question. It's much stronger. And some people will probably say no, even though it is asking the same thing as the first question. So it depends a lot on how the question is worded. And the last thing is small sample sizes mean that there can be more errors. What that means, if I only ask one person, it will not be as accurate as if I ask 10 people. So the bigger the sample size, the more accurate your information will be. Now let's look at some times where polls were not accurate. If you look at this first poll, North Carolina, when Senator Kerry was facing President Bush in 2004 for the presidential election, the poll showed that there were about 47% of people who supported John Kerry, and about 52% who supported George Bush. Now, the actual tally, the actual votes, showed that only 42% of people supported John Kerry, and 56% of people voted for George Bush. What that means is that the polls were not as accurate. More people ended up voting for Bush, and fewer people voted for Kerry compared to what the poll said. Similarly, in New Hampshire, a lot of people said they were going to vote for Kerry, and only 42% of people said they were going to vote for George Bush. What actually happened is about 48% of people voted for George Bush, and only 50% of people voted for John Kerry, even though the margin right here for the exit poll was closer to about 10 to 15%. In Florida, this is where it gets very interesting. We have John Kerry winning the poll, meaning more people said in the poll or the survey that they were going to vote for John Kerry, and fewer people said they were going to vote for George Bush. What actually happened is that the polls got flipped over for the votes, and so George Bush actually won Florida in 2004 instead of John Kerry. Now, that is something that was opposite of what the poll said. So basically, the overview of today, we know that media influences people's opinions, which is called public opinion. We know that media comes in different forms like newspaper, radio, television, internet. We know that media decides what they want to say and how they want to say it. We know that polls give information about public opinion, and that polls can be very helpful but are not always accurate. What you're going to do now is you're going to show me your notes, and once you are done, you are going to practice. You're going to make your own propaganda poster. It must be original, and you must ask me if you have any questions. What you're going to do is you're going to try to create some sort of picture, can be about politics or anything else, that's similar to the pictures that we saw earlier on with Donald Trump or World War II or Barack Obama, anything like that. Create a propaganda poster for that, and when you have finished that, give it to me, and you're done for the day. Have a good day.